Hello there, and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for Saturday, August 25th, 2012. Well, I actually spent a wonderful afternoon near the town of Stonington, taking some pictures and having a really great day overall. And came back to some news that hit kind of a deep chord with me. And that news is that the astronaut Neil Armstrong, the first human being to step foot on our moon, passed away today at the age of 82. I only just heard this about 20 minutes ago, and it's still processing in my mind, but I know it brings back a very important memory for me. I don't have a lot of heroes or people I look up to in my life for totally narcissistic reasons. Most of my heroes, so to speak, people who affect society at large and who I view in the broader scope. But my feelings about Neil Armstrong as a person and what he represents runs a little more selfishly deep, as you might say. When I was a young child, probably about first, second grade, I shared a dream with about 20% of my other classmates, and that was to be an astronaut. I think most children share that dream at one point or another, and even young girls were, because of people like Sally Ride, who is now also deceased. So there's been 2 astronauts who have died this summer. And of course, by the time they were in 4th and 5th grade, most of them basically wanted to be water skiers or monster truck drivers or some athlete or sports figure of some type. But with me, that dream of becoming an astronaut never changed. In fact, it grew stronger as I grew older. When I was about 10 and 11 years old, I wanted to apply to space camp, which I believe was in Huntsville, Alabama. And unfortunately, I did not have the academic credits to go, especially when it came to mathematics. I was considered a special education child. And I think having that dream dashed is probably one of the most depressing experiences of my life. I didn't think that no matter how hard I worked for it, I'd ever be able to achieve that. But I did manage to live vicariously through some other people and their experiences, and Neil Armstrong was #1 on the list with a bullet. As a matter of fact, I don't really think that he even intended to be the first human being to step foot on the moon. I think, from what I understand, it was quite by accident. And I always had that famous catchphrase running through my head. One small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. And that's always kind of how I defined everything I did. Every move I made was a small step, but it might represent a giant leap for the human race someday if I applied myself. And I think it's, of course, one of the most famous quotes of 20th century history, and probably off the cuff kind of thing. And that's who Neil Armstrong was to me, always off the cuff. After his famous flight to the moon on the Apollo 11 with Edwin Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins in 1969, the others had to deal with the heroism of that in different ways. Neil Armstrong became a recluse. He became a professor and retired to a farm. And I heard very little to nothing but from him after that. He totally retreated into the background, as if his moment in American history never happened. And it is also bringing up a very important lesson to me that I learned from Neil Armstrong, that you don't have to always be in everybody's face to be an American hero, an international hero, or any kind of hero. Sometimes all you have to do is step on another world. Just one little step, and that'll be on the moon forever. The gravity's very low there. Neil Armstrong is gone at the age of 82 today, but he's left his footprint in time on the moon. And that's such a profound thing to me. I can't even discuss that. It just is the way that it is. And I have to make a confession here. I'm a photographer now. But honestly, that dream of going into space, not necessarily becoming an astronaut, that was something that I had to put by the wayside when I was younger. But the dream of going into space for me has never left my mind. If a day came up when they said, photographers, sign up, you're going into space to photograph the cosmos, you'd very likely see my name on the top 5, because that's where I want to be. The cosmos has always interested me, and without any hyperbole, I have to pretty much credit Neil Armstrong for that. Just the fact that he is a private and small-egoed American hero, and a modest one, was a huge inspiration for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there in my position, now that the internet's out there and people are getting closer than ever, who had the same experiences that I did. So if you see this video, please feel free to comment if you were in my position, if you looked at Neil Armstrong in this way, and leave messages. And this also brought to mind a lot of other things about the space program too. The fact that, another astronaut mission to the moon took a famous picture called Earthrise. And when human beings looked at that fragile image of our planet from the point of view of where we usually see the moon, it initiated a whole series of new thoughts about the way we looked at the planet. And inspired, so I hear, the first Earth Day, a holiday we still celebrate to this day, and for which a long time Earthrise was actually a symbol. Now, with that kind of influence the space program had on society in the 1960s and early 70s, it really honks me off, frankly, when I hear people say, whether it be African Americans or whether it be Native Americans or any American of any sort, especially people who are perceived minorities, say things like, why should we go up into space when we have so many ghettos and reservations that need to be dealt with on the planet? And, it's short-term thinking. I think it's important for us to realize when we were taking those giant leaps for humankind, I suppose we'd say that now, massive social changes were happening on Earth because we were taking our ego out of ourselves and looking at the planet from another distance. We weren't in space shuttles just orbiting around the planet, maintaining a series of satellite services. We weren't just maintenance crews in space. As Jimmy Carter said it so well, and it still applies today, in the 60s, we were pilgrims in space in search of knowledge. And since the late 70s, we've become shepherds tending a technological flock. We need to be those pilgrims in search of knowledge again. And Neil Armstrong was one of those pilgrims par excellence. So, hats off to you, Neil Armstrong, and my condolences to your family. Neil, you've taken that giant step away from mankind, but a part of you will never die. It's up there on the moon. Whenever I look up there, I'll be thinking of him. That's my thoughts for the day, and don't give up on your dreams, because they don't give up on you. See you next time.